Hey folks, Turbine Guy coming back at you with an amazing system that I ran across on the internet. As we can see right here, it's a wall of wind turbines out floating in the middle of the ocean. The floating wind catcher power plant with multiple turbines electrifies 80,000 homes at once. Wind catcher with multiple turbines. Norwegian company Wind Catching Systems imagines a floating wind power plant on the sea with multiple turbines forming a grid and churning electricity that could power 80,000 households per offshore wind power structure. I notice they say imagines, which means it's not there yet. The company claims that the 5 units of wind catcher can produce the same amount of electricity as 25 conventional turbines generate. Design Boom, the blog we're looking at here, reports that if scaled, the wind catchers could reduce the cost of wind energy to be competitive with traditional grid supplied electricity. In other words, if we put enough of them out there, we're going to match what it currently costs to make electricity with fossil fuels. Progress has been catching on to the company's floating wind power venture. I think it meant to say people have been catching on to the company's floating wind power venture. Recently, Wind Catching Systems has received a second grant from Enova SF, a Norwegian government enterprise, with a total of $900,000 to support the initial implementation of a full-scale wind catcher through the pre-project. Wind Catching Systems is slated to confirm its technology in use and the cost estimates for a full-scale wind catcher. What they're saying is they've already got a preliminary unit out there they're testing that's not full-scale. Now we take a look at this thing, a close-up look, and I kind of went through and counted, and it looks to me like there's maybe 99 of these small wind turbines all in there ready to go at once. Isn't that crazy? Testing the floating wind power. This is the second grant Wind Catching Systems has received from Enova. The support from Enova is a strong validation of both our technology and our team. We're now fully focused on maturing our technology towards our first offshore installation, says Ole Hegheim, the CEO of Wind Catching Systems. Before the second grant, Wind Catching Systems received a grant of $2.1 million from Enova to support the design and testing of the wind turbine planned at Mahuken Wind Park on the west coast of Norway. The turbine is slated to be installed in 2023 for testing and verification. So they're up to $3 million already, and hopefully that'll get them their first unit up. Now, this next picture, what they're trying to show you is that 5 of these floating units can replace 25 standard wind turbines out at sea right now. The floating wind power plant wind catcher is based on a multi-turbine design. The accumulation of wind turbines in a grid resembles barbed wires hovering on the sea. Wind Catching Systems claims that having multiple turbines on a single floating platform can maximize energy production per floating structure. It can also have a self-contained maintenance system, which eliminates the need for a specialized water vehicle to support the offshore maintenance operations. The company claims that energy greatly scales with wind speed and that conventional turbines limit energy output by pitching the blades. In other words, what they're saying is, as the wind speed goes up, the power available goes up parabolically. And most wind turbines have to shut down at this spot. They feather the blades or shut the turbine down, specifically not to overspeed and damage the turbine, because they're not made to withstand that. But these new turbines, are saying, can go higher up that scale where more energy is available and catch that. And here we see a whole unit structure with its lateral supports and the longitudinal supports. Remember, that's all floating. Wind Catcher claims to generate 5 times the annual energy. With the Wind Catcher, a wind power system specifically designed for floating offshore wind, Wind Catching Systems claims that it can solve some of the central challenges facing floating wind, drastically reducing acreage use per megawatt hour of electricity produced while minimizing complexity and cost of operations and maintenance. In other words, smaller area, more electricity, less maintenance, easier to work on, and all that. Utilizing the full energy and higher wind speeds and the multi-rotor effect, the wind catcher generates 2.5 times more annual energy per swept area than a conventional turbine. Having the double the swept area of a conventional 15 megawatt wind turbine, one wind catching unit will generate five times the annual energy production, the company says. This is what technology looks like, people. No one ever said wind turbines, windmills were ever going to remain the same. And this appears to be the next generation of offshore. This is a great picture right here. They're showing you the size of the wind catcher compared to, it looks like an old style cruise ship and a new style cruise ship. Now we got a couple of decent sized planes here. I don't see a 747. Of course, it looks like the Statue of Liberty over here certainly approves of this project, and about as tall as the Eiffel Tower. So this gives you an idea for the size of this unit. Now just imagine if they had the Hi-Vot units that you see up in the corner of my video that I represent all stacked in here real nice. Then they wouldn't have all that lateral load on this, and it would work even better. Much, much better. But folks, you all got to think, we got to quit getting angry at each other over this stuff. Renewable energy is the future. You know, many of you may not remember, but there might be a couple of you out there that do. When the horse and carriage was sitting there watching the first automobiles tootle by, making all that little noise and smells. Those things are terrible. We got to outlaw them and get rid of them. Now they're everywhere. Just like the automobile was destined to become a part of our future, so is renewable energy. Turbine Guy, signing off.